So like I said, we have a new normal nowadays, and we really want to make sure that we are supporting our customers in this. So a little bit about me. My name is Faith Albers. I'm the Director of Client Marketing at WearAware. We have over 20 years of experience in the gift and home furniture industry. I've been supporting clients in that industry as well as others for a very long time. We drive smart growth through digital marketing strategy and activation. So, a very, very high focus on making sure our customers have successful websites, email marketing, digital advertising, and really optimizing their marketing, again, specifically focused in the digital channels. As you can see, these are some of our clients, a lot, again, in the gift and home industry. However, we draw inspiration from other industries, both B2B and B2C clients as well. So first, kind of broad question, how should I share COVID-19 updates? Whether you're calling it COVID-19, coronavirus, I know there's a couple of names going out there. I think the key here is that you should be sharing updates with your customers as much as you can. We highly recommend creating, if you haven't already, a landing page on your website that specifically gives your company's response to COVID-19. What you're doing, what support you have for your retailers, for your sales reps, helping to provide that information all in one place is going to be really, really important. It can be on a frequently asked questions page, but it can also be really helpful to have a separate page as well, especially if you want to link to that from social media websites, from email marketing opportunities or other locations. We do also recommend creating what we call a global banner. So that's a banner that's going to go across the top of your website that links to the landing page. And ultimately, that will help your customers to see very, very quickly where they can get the most recent and up-to-date information about COVID-19, especially because things will change. I know even for our company, there's certain things that have changed on just a couple of days apart, and it's something that you're going to want to be able to provide the most up-to-date information to your customers all in one location. If you're sending an email about COVID-19, I'm sure a lot of you received those over the last few weeks from a lot of different companies that you personally subscribe to from an email marketing standpoint. Make sure that you're asking yourself, is this new information that my customers need right now? You want to make sure that if you're sending something out that it's substantial, that you're providing resources, information, something that's helpful to them. Again, you can add a banner just like you've done on your website. You can add that to your one-off emails or even to continuous campaigns that you've got that will link to that FAQ page or a COVID-19 landing page. That can be helpful. Again, just wanting to make that information as available to customers as possible and as visible as possible. You also want to make sure that you're monitoring your performance metrics, specifically with email, looking at open and click-through rates. Making sure that you're only sending to active lists and avoiding any negative impacts on deliverability. So if you're just going to completely stop email marketing, for example, that could be seen as a negative impact on deliverability because email providers like Gmail and things like that want to see consistency, want to see normalcy. When they see kind of big spurts and then it going away again, it can potentially cause deliverability issues. So we just recommend monitoring that. Keeping tabs on it and understanding that if you do need to pause things for a while, that you understand what you might be going into when you come back. Some marketing automation platforms allow the opportunity to snooze emails. So this can be especially helpful if you have retailers who have maybe shut their doors for weeks, months, etc., and aren't interested in purchasing right now or hearing from you right now. Giving them that option to kind of dial down their emails that they're getting from you might be an opportunity and really can show that you care about them and you want to be there for them in the way that they want to communicate with you. Make sure that you're reviewing the one-off and continuous campaigns that you've got running for anything that could be insensitive. This can be messaging, it could be tone. Obviously, there's not a ton of in-person events or promotions, talking about working with a rep on something that the rep may not be able to be there in person with them. So definitely consider just the tone of what you're referring to within your emails. There's certainly lots of great brands out there who are proceeding thoughtfully with their brand messaging, still being playful in ways, but again, tying it back around to kind of the positive elements that they can pull out of this situation. And again, being really, really helpful to your retailer, I think is going to be the best case scenario there in terms of providing content that's helpful for them. Consider pausing or revising your automated programs, looking at each of those programs very, very specifically. We have a lot of customers in this industry who have reorder or no order continuous campaigns. It's an email that's going to send out at a certain interval if someone has not ordered within a certain time frame. There, you might get some pushback from your customers for that, if they, for saying, why would you send this to me right now, as an example. Again, it's different for a lot of customers, so certainly consider your individual situation. However, it's just something you should review overall, because you could have individual campaigns that the messaging might be off during this time. Also, make sure that you're coordinating customer service and sales with your marketing team or whoever's handling your marketing database. If a customer closes their account, for example, you'll want to make sure that you're suppressing them from your mailing lists or marking enough to segment them later on. Again, kind of like that snoozing functionality, but if you need to completely suppress that, make sure that you're communicating that as well. Again, if a customer has closed their doors and communicated that to their sales rep, but that's not communicated through to the marketing team, then they get an email about a promotion that's going to happen at some point. Again, it could come off as a little bit insensitive, so make sure that you're reviewing that. Looking at social media and pay-per-click, got a couple of questions about social media and kind of what to do there. Definitely use this as an opportunity to boost your social presence, being responsive to comments and questions. Certainly make sure that you're reviewing all of the chatter, I guess, that's happening. I definitely think that communication is not just telling things to your customers, but also listening to them, hearing what they need. This is a great opportunity to feature your retailer sharing their website or their social pages to help support their businesses. And using this as an opportunity to engage. Again, there's a lot of opportunity to create some really strong content about what you recommend for your retailers to do. And you can do that on Facebook and Instagram and even on LinkedIn. That there's a lot of opportunity to share that information from a social media standpoint. Make sure from the pay-per-click standpoint, just like with email, that you're reviewing all of your ad copy and creative for any insensitive language or imagery, making sure to review keywords to make sure they're still relevant during this time. Again, that could be something that you're not even really thinking of, keywords that you're bidding on that no one's searching for anymore or right now, something that if you were to bid on a keyword may not be relevant anymore or appropriate anymore. So make sure that you're reviewing all of that material as well. So we had a lot of questions about how to best support the sales team, the sales reps, especially those who would typically be on the road and having in-person conversations with customers, but aren't right now. So how to keep them engaged? Definitely recommend setting up virtual meetings, using video to mimic those in-person appointments. Video is becoming a much larger thing nowadays, and it's been on a trend, it's been a rise, and something that we've talked with a lot of different customers about other ways to engage, especially from the sales rep point. But this is different times, and you're going to have to evolve with that. So definitely encourage having them use video to mimic those appointments, whether you're using an app to do so, or sometimes even just if the customer can use FaceTime, it doesn't have to be super complicated either. Providing COVID-19 talking points for customer communication. So again, if you got that landing page on your website, here's how we're approaching COVID-19. You can also share some of those points directly with the sales team, so that when their retailers are asking questions, that you can, make sure that they've got kind of that canned response of how you're handling those scenarios to help them, proceed with those conversations individually with our customers and maintain those relationships. That's really what's going to be the most important here, is trying to maintain those relationships with retailers, using this as an opportunity of, we're all human. We know that there's going to be challenging days ahead. And by keeping that relationship alive and trying to understand how, you as a company might be able to help your retailers, really, again, asking them a lot of questions and keeping involved from that standpoint is going to be helpful. Making sure that your reps know any promotions that might have been normal this time of year and are no longer normal, as things change with markets, what's open, what's not, any strategies or even trends in terms of buying season. There's a lot of different things that you'll want to make sure that you're communicating down the line with your reps, so that you're having a consistent message across all of the customers. Making sure that your reps are staying active in the industry and their community. So, keeping them engaged, especially when they're not used to this. Definitely have them pay attention to open businesses, if their customers are open, or trying to encourage them to have new methods of getting product to the consumer. I've seen a lot of retailers who have gotten very, very creative with how they can sell products if they didn't already have an online business. And so that's certainly something to engage with and have that conversation with them. How are they dealing with these challenges? And certainly opportunity to help create content that can be helpful for your retailers. Things that you're creating as a company to have their end customers digest and use as content on their own. So keep in mind, we pulled this graphic this morning, so this was updated as of yesterday, but it's changing every day. So, not every state has a shelter in place right now. And this, again, will change. So over time, I know there's a lot of different states who have it for weeks, months for some, I know, and there's others that don't have that right now. This will continue to change. So keep in mind that there might be kind of open territory areas where you can shift around reps, or there might be other opportunities to share that workload, or shift things around so that you're still making sure that you're having communication, especially with the customers whose stores are open, to make sure that you're not kind of completely shutting everything off if you're still able to fulfill orders for those customers. So how can I promote my company and drive revenue? This is top of mind. We got a lot of different questions kind of surrounding this topic, wanting to make sure that you're not being insensitive to these scenarios, but you're certainly looking at the opportunities that might lie ahead. So looking at what to promote and where to promote it, make sure that you are matching the content to your customers' interests using data. So looking at which channels are engaged the most. It could be very interesting to see, what channels people are, where traffic is being driven right now, where it wasn't previously. I've seen on a couple of our customer websites that they've had an increase in mobile visitors. Part of that could be just due to people working from home and having some different challenges with that. So make sure that you're looking at also the website performance, so which pages and products users are browsing the most, looking at search terms. So that's both on your on-site search and for keywords from organic search, to see if what people search for at one point on your website or to get to your website are the same as they were before, as that certainly could have changed. That can also help you understand whether or not it's relevant to promote certain things. So, we've heard questions of, should we still promote some of these holidays and special dates? Definitely recommend. This is going to be different for every company, but review that search behavior to even understand if people are interested. If you've got a lot of people on your website who are searching for seasonal product, it's fair to consider that that's what people are wanting at that time. But really look at your customer behavior to make sure that you're going to be on target. Also making sure that you're updating any of your campaign copy or themes, so you're not promoting irrelevant items, like talking about in-store display ideas. I know that's a recommendation we have a lot for a lot of our B2B customers. Right now, that's not probably going to work for most customers because their in-store displays don't exist right now. So just consider that there might be additional ways to kind of spin things and look at additional opportunities, really, really focused on the digital realm, how we can focus on e-commerce or that social distancing element of where you're not going to be in person with those customers. Also consider how events will change. So baby showers might be canceled, but guests are still going to send gifts to that mom to be. So especially looking in the gift industry, gifting isn't completely gone. And in some cases, we might even see, an increase in some cases for certain holidays, things like that. But I'm going to make a broad statement here that each event or holiday might be different. So certainly have that into consideration for when you're planning your promotions or marketing materials. Is this relevant? Is this still going to be on target, especially as this timing could change very, very drastically in the next couple of months here. So keep that in mind too. So how can you support retailers facing staying at home? We really strongly recommend being as flexible as you can. Again, things that you might not have considered doing as a business previously, this might be a good time to try that out. Opportunities a lot of our customers have looked at is, reducing order minimums or having delayed ship dates, extending terms and credit lines, reevaluating minimums I think is a big piece to understand that your retailers will be financially strapped. So they're not going to be able to place huge orders. And, you know, if and when they do get back up and running, you want to make sure that you're as flexible as possible to make sure that their businesses are running, which will then help your business to run as well. So looking at a couple of ideas or campaigns to drive revenue, you know, there is, especially with market being up in the air and understanding, you know, some markets are not going to be available to show at, and we'll have to see. But for some of those, you want to make sure that you have an e-commerce presence. So you can run a virtual market event on your website, having show specials to mimic traditional markets. I really recommend using video. Again, this is an opportunity where you can still show your product, but having, you know, not in person. So using video as a really, really great opportunity to showcase product lines, having your sales reps talk through what they like from the new lines, and having an additional way to engage could be really, really successful. And putting all that content on your website and driving people to register and purchase online. Consider investing in your website. So if this is an area where you've held off in the past and said, oh, we don't do a lot online, or, you know, our customers don't want to shop online, that might change now. You know, you should certainly reevaluate kind of the business strategy from that standpoint on where you want to sell. Maybe now's the time to get into Amazon, or, you know, opening a B2C realm within the product lines that you have. So certainly something to consider, changing how you're going to do business from now on, especially online. So opportunities to boost your loyalty program with double points for incentives for online orders if you've got that. We've mentioned a bunch of different dating promos, freight discounts. Another thing to look at is promoting easy to ship items. So understanding that if you're going to ship something to the customer and then they might have to ship it again to someone if drop shipping is not available for you, that maybe lighter items or things that are easier to gift or easier to ship might be something to consider as well. And then finally, considering that there might be excess seasonal inventory, just, you know, with this kind of sudden change in the market, consider doing some after season sales. So this is something that, you know, when retailers do open their doors again, they're going to want price breaks on things, but understanding what promotions you might be able to give during that time to offload the excess inventory that you may have that's maybe seasonally off mark, but you could give that great margins to support your customers as they try and rebuild their businesses. So another question we had was the best social media to communicate and reach clients. For prospecting, Facebook and Instagram is great. Networking, definitely use LinkedIn. You know, I think it's really where your customers are. And again, this is an opportunity to build those channels. So in a time when you might traditionally be pushing a lot, you know, here's the new product, here's bestsellers, you know, here's what's on sale, trending, things like that. This might be an opportunity to help kind of humanize your brand, you know, have communications and conversations with your customers about new content opportunities. So I think there's a lot that you can do there on social media. So definitely consider if that's something you haven't, you know, devoted a lot of time to in the past. This could be a really great opportunity to build your follower base, to create some really, really strong content while you're trying to build the rest of the strategy for the remainder of 2020 and beyond. So speaking of, how can you plan for the future? So certainly a big question. You know, there's a lot of unknowns still, and, you know, I don't have a crystal ball to say exactly what's going to happen. However, you can certainly create some next steps and things that you should be thinking about for when everything does start up again. So keep in mind, getting a head start. Analyze your marketing performance to identify future optimizations and campaigns. I know as a marketer, there's a lot that kind of falls to the back burner. There's a lot of go, and what's the next thing, and trying to keep everything moving forward. But this is a really great opportunity to kind of take a little bit of a step back and look at the performance of how everything you've been doing from a digital marketing standpoint has been working so far, and starting to create or clean up your marketing and editorial calendar. As I'm sure many people have had this scenario where you've had a plan for a campaign for weeks and it just is completely scrapped based off of current events. So something that you certainly should consider being flexible and adaptable with that calendar to make sure that you've got content ready, kind of in waiting for when future seasons come up and you're ready to promote items, whether that's you're able to fulfill now or the orders start coming in. You want to make sure that you're ready for that. There's also another opportunity, something again that kind of tends to fall to the back burner sometimes, is optimizing your website for search engines, making sure that you've updated your product names and descriptions, and even some older content for important keywords and SEO best practices. Some customers have a blog. This is an opportunity to review, which blog posts were performing best, which ones were driving traffic, which ones had the engagement, so that you can then, again, tie that back to your editorial calendar, make a strategy there, and maybe even sharing some of those resources that have been created in the past. Again, another opportunity to revisit completely how are we approaching our digital marketing from that element. Another opportunity is making sure that you're testing your websites and your email code. So again, something that tends to fall in the back burner is making sure that everything is working as it's supposed to. And the last thing you want is to have your website kind of turned off for a couple weeks, maybe a month, or whatever it happens to be, turning it back on only to realize that there's an issue and your customer can't place an order, for example, or that the products that you wanted to load weren't ready. So I think this is the time to make sure that you're leaning into those opportunities and making sure that everything is working really, really well, so that when it does become time for sales to happen again and kind of that rebound, if you will, that there's a working website to support your digital marketing efforts and all the other channels that you're going to be working on. So I want to have a couple of time for questions. So go ahead and chat in the questions box if you have a question that you'd like to answer, or I'm sorry, that you'd like me to answer or talk through a little bit here. Also, if you'd like, you can always email sales@whereaware.com if you have like a longer form question. We'd be happy to set up some time to talk with you, to talk with a digital marketing expert about how we can help. I think that this is a challenging time, but there's a lot of opportunity to reach out to your customers and still build your business even during these tough times for everyone else. So let me take a look at the questions over here. Okay, this one. How do you get older generations to buy online? So certainly another question that we've gotten from people in the past. I think, again, times are changing. People are getting more and more used to moving online. The industry trends really have gone towards moving online in the past few years anyway. So I think this kind of is one of those opportunities to say, well, there is no other way to do business right now. We need to do it online. So have your reps work to get them registered online. Provide a video training to your reps if they're not sure or if they weren't gung-ho about it in the past. Have your reps be your allies in that scenario. It's another opportunity to have them reach out to the customer and say, hey, let me help get you online. Here's a how-to video of how to do it. If you want to have videos on your website even, I think that's something helping a customer understand, okay, now that I'm registered, how do I view products? How do I add to the cart? How do I understand the order minimums or what I need to do to get my normal order set up? A lot of times websites have great functionality for reorders, so certainly an opportunity to educate your customers on the benefits of your website as well. Again, for those who want to hold off on email marketing, this might be a good time to say, just so you know, our website is up and running, and this is where that FAQ section is really, really helpful on the website to make sure that people know that you're up and running, and here's how you can use our website, here's how you can still place orders. We're here to support you, and that message can be consistent. Another question here. A couple questions here. Will you be sharing any resources after the webinar? We will be sending out 2 checklists following the webinar that has all of this information, and I know this was a lot to digest in a short amount of time. I wanted to make sure that we were really succinct in getting you guys information that we find is really, really helpful. We do have a blog post up on the Whereaware website as well, which can help with this. But again, certainly if you have specific questions that you didn't feel like were answered, and even after getting this checklist that we'll be following up with as well, please feel free to reach out to us for more information there. We've got a couple minutes left here. What are the top challenges B2B gift companies will have when business as usual returns? This could be a lot of different things, but certainly considering, something that comes to mind for me is this excess inventory, planning for, we had planned to sell all these items and now they're in the warehouse ready to go. We missed that season because there was a huge dip in the selling season essentially for a period of time, and what that period of time will be is to be determined. But again, I think that there's kind of inventory reduction, sales, and additional opportunities to move that product out. That will come up, but it will really just depend on the seasonality and kind of where we hit that point. We have customers who have been really successful with those types of sales, especially you look at, you know, Easter or spring merchandise. It's like, can this be repurposed for summer? Can you show your customers, here's how to sell that during that time? You know, looking forward to the holidays. Obviously, this is about the time when people are going to market, looking at placing those holiday orders. It's going to be a concern for those folks to say, you know, how do I know the future of my business? And we don't know that either. So again, just being flexible and kind of being there as a helping hand to those customers, I think is going to be really, really important. You know, driving sales in a recovering economy, not just from retailers purchasing, but then their customers purchasing. There's a lot of really, really big unknowns there right now. Again, just want to keep abreast of those challenges and be aware that that might be a struggle for them. And so understand, again, as a business, how can you help there? Is it by looking at pricing changes? Definitely recommend, we will be sending out a recording of the webinar as well. There's a slide there that talks about some different promotional opportunities, things you should consider that you might not have in the past that could certainly help your retailers be able to bounce back from the situation. Question, what are you seeing in overall revenue drop or user time on site or any other metrics that we can share? You know, I'd say in general, we are seeing a drop in metrics pretty much across the board. You know, people just not wanting to visit the website as much, not browsing as much on the website. I don't have a specific metric or average that we've formally pulled on that per se, but I'll say the trend overall is, you know, revenue down, visits down, time on site down. So if you're experiencing that on your website, you're not alone. A lot of folks are seeing that. So again, it's going to be different for different customers though. It really depends on the content that you've got. You know, people might not be as willing to browse, or they might be loading up their shopping cart so that they are a wish list, so that they are ready to make that purchase when they're ready to get up and running again. That's certainly a case too. So I can't speak for retailers in that particular scenario, but definitely encourage you to reach out to them and ask them, are they shopping? Is it like, what content do they want? What's going to be helpful for them? Because that's really how you're going to be able to adapt the best to be able to service those customers. So I think that is all the questions that we've got for now. Like I said, please feel free to reach out to salesawareware.com if you have any additional questions. If you want to set up a free consultation with the digital marketing expert, we'd love to get on the phone with you and talk through some of the challenges that you might be having. Keep an eye out in your email. We will be sending out some resources for you after the fact. I hope this was helpful for everyone, and we wish you all the best of luck. Have a great rest of your day.